just coming. So everyone rise.
Contemplations before chanting. The Sangha is invited to come back to our breathing so that the collective energy of mindfulness can bring us together as an organism, flowing as a river with no more separation. Let the whole Sangha breathe as one body, listen as one body, chant as one body, transcending the boundaries of a delusive self, liberating us from the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex.
Reciting the sutras, may this practice center with this fourfold sangha be supported by the three jewels and holy beings, well protected from the 8 misfortunes and the 3 paths of suffering. May parents, teachers, friends, and all beings within the 3 realms be filled with the most divine grace, and may it be found that in the world there is no place at war. May the winds be favorable, the rain seasonable, and the people's hearts at peace. May the practice of the noble community, diligent and steady, ascend the 10 bodhisattva stages with ease and energy. May the sangha body live peacefully, fresh and full of joy, a refuge for all, offering happiness and insight. The wisdom of the awakened mind shines out like the full moon. The body of the awakened one is pure and clear as crystal. In the world the awakened one relieves bitterness and suffering. In every place the awakened mind reveals love and compassion. Namo Shakyamuni Buddhaya. Namo Shakyamuni Buddhaya.
The heart of perfect understanding, the
Bodhisattva Avalokita, while moving in the deep course of perfect understanding, shed light on the 5 skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame ill being. Listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all dhammas amount with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither defiled nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore in emptiness there is neither form nor feelings, perceptions, nor mental formations of consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realms of elements from mind to mind consciousness, no interdependent origins and no extinction of them, from ignorance to death and decay, no ill being, no cause of ill being, no end of ill being, and no path, no understanding, and no attainment. Because there is no attainment, the Bodhisattvas, grounded in perfect understanding, find no obstacles for their minds. Having no obstacles, they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion, realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future, thanks to this perfect understanding, arrive at full and bright universal enlightenment. Therefore one should know that perfect understanding is the highest mantra, the unequal mantra, the destroyer of ill being, the incorruptible truth. A mantra of Prajnaparamita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhiswaha. Gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhiswaha.
Dear friends, those of you who have a weakness on hearing, please move to the loudspeaker. I don't know if the loudspeaker close there, do you hear? If you don't, please go here and here. I myself, I also sit near to the loudspeaker.
The children are invited to come close to Thầy. bring that loudspeaker back here so that we can hear also. This looks like a happy moment. You think that this is a happy moment? I think so. Dear Sangha, good morning. Today is the 28th of August in the year 2013. And we are in Brookleaf Monastery on our 4th day of the retreat, the art of suffering. President Obama is giving a speech in Washington at this time at the Lincoln Memorial. And he asked every American today to ring the bell. And the title of his speech today is Let Freedom Ring. Because 50 years ago, on this very day, the 28th of August, Martin Luther King gave a very famous speech at the Lincoln Memorial with the title, I Have a Dream. So 4 days ago, there was also a gathering in Washington, D.C. And Martin Luther King III and other leaders came also addressing the topic, how to realize the dream of King. So to President Obama wants that today at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll ring the bell across America and across the continent also to remember that we have a dream to realize. There must be freedom and jobs for everyone. That is the dream. From time to time, I have a nice dream also. I tell you one of them. It happened about 20 years ago when I was very young. It means I was something like 65, 66. Very young. And in that dream, I saw myself younger. I dreamt that I was a university student, about 21 or 22. I think if you dream, you can get younger. And I was 66, and in my dream, I saw myself as a young student of 21 or 22. And that day, they informed me that I was accepted in a class of a very outstanding, illustrious professor of the university, the best in the university. I was so happy to have been selected to be sitting in that class. You cannot imagine my happiness, because there's so many students, and I was one who was accepted to be in that class. I don't know, I have not seen that professor, but they told me that he is the most outstanding, wise, illustrious kind of teacher. And that morning I was to go to that class. I had to climb several floors in order to go to that class. And during the time I tried to get up to that floor, I saw a young man of my age, 21 or 22, and he looked exactly like me. He is like another myself, another me. Very strange. There is me here, but there is another me out there, and trying to get through the door. And I had in mind the question as whether that young man can go, he has been accepted to the class also. So I asked the lady in the office to see whether that young man who looks exactly like me has been accepted to be in the same class. And she said, no, not him. You, yes, but not him. I didn't understand, because it took a few weeks later that I began to understand the dream. But during that time, I didn't understand. Even after I woke up from the dream, I did not understand. So I left the office and I tried to climb. And halfway, I wonder what kind of subject this professor is teaching. And I learned that music is a professor of music. And I was very surprised, because I was not a student of music. And why should why I have been accepted as a student in that group, learning music? I could not understand. There are so many things you cannot understand. And then the next surprise is that when I open the door, it's a huge hall and not just a classroom. And there are more than 1,000 students. Usually in such a class there is 10 or 20 or 30, but this is a huge class. And looking through the window, I saw very beautiful landscapes, cascades, waterfalls, mountain peaks covered with snow. It's like heaven. It was like an assembly of Bodhisattvas in the Tushita heaven. That was my feeling, to be accepted in that assembly of students and teachers. And the next surprise that came is that they told me that that morning I had to give a presentation. When the professor came, I had to give a presentation. Surprise after surprise. I was embarrassed. I was not a student of music, and I had to do a presentation on music. So I got lost. So I was trying to look around and put my hand into my pocket to find something that is direction. And guess what? I touched something in my pocket, and that was a little bell. And when I realized that what was in my pocket is a little bell, suddenly I regained confidence. Well, I can do something with the bell. Because as a monk, I has been playing with the bell a lot. Yes, 71 years of being a monk, you have to know how to play with the bell. You have to play the role of a bell master, you know. In order to ring the bell, you have to be a bell master. And of course, the bell is an instrument of music. So I said, I can give a presentation when the professor comes. So I regained confidence. I was happy then. And then they tell me that the professor is coming in. And you guess what? In that moment, exactly in that moment, I woke up. I could not see the professor in person. And I did not understand either. So I woke up and I stayed very still in my bed, and I try to figure out what does it mean. I practice mindful breathing and recall every details of the dream, and I found out something. That young man who looked exactly like me, he was me. But he was a little bit behind me, because as a practitioner, you always practice in order to get better, to get more freedom. So because I have made efforts to practice, that is why I have left myself behind. I left myself behind. I overtook myself. So that student who looked exactly like me, he was me. I have left him behind because I have made some progress in the practice and get more freedom. And that is why I am accepted. And he was not accepted. That's what I understand. So in the process of the practice, you have to bypass, to overcome yourself in order to be your better self, and you leave your lesser self behind. Every day, you have to be a new person, more freedom, more happiness. Otherwise, there is no progress. That is what I understood with the dream. And to me, that the class is an assembly of Bodhisattvas. And the Buddha was about to come and give us a teaching. And that is why, waking up, I regret very much that if I had a few more minutes in the dream, I would have seen the Buddha in person. Since President Obama wants us to ring the bell today, I want to tell you how we ring the bell in the Buddhist tradition. Please learn. You want to be a bell master, you have to learn. Because in the meditation tradition, the sound of the bell is a voice calling you back to your true home. You know that in Plum Village or in this retreat, every time we hear the bell, we stop talking, we stop thinking, we begin to breathe in mindfully and enjoy our in-breath. We begin to, and we follow by breathing out and enjoy our out-breath. And we do that for 3 times. And the students and the children who come to Plum Village, they always learn how to be a bell master, because we want them to know how to play with the bell at home. Because Thầy has been playing with the bell 71 years. And he can do it pretty well now. When you invite the bell to sound, you make many people happy. Because at the sound of the bell, everyone stop talking, stop thinking, and enjoy breathing in and out and become peaceful and pleasant. And if there are 1,000 people breathing in and out and smile, well, the atmosphere is very nice. Real nice. So it's good to be a bell master, inviting the bell to sound so that everyone has the chance to be peace and to practice peace. We don't say hit the bell. We don't say strike the bell, but we say invite the bell to sound. It's very nice. Because the bell is like a friend. And we invite him, we invite her to sound so that we can breathe in and out happily and peacefully. If you want to be a bell master, listen. You have to bow to the bell first. And you put the bell on your left hand. And you raise the hand on this level, and you breathe. My hand has 5 fingers. It's like a lotus flower with 5 petals. And the bell is like a jewel in the heart of the lotus. It's so beautiful. You might like to enjoy visualizing your hand as a lotus flower, and the little bell as the heart of the flower, a jewel. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani means jewel. Padme means in the lotus. And you breathe in. There is a verse that you have to memorize in order to breathe in and out with. And this verse is like this. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the song of this bell. May those of you who listen to me awaken from your forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. You have to memorize the verse, and you breathe in with the first line, and you breathe out with the second line. And a monk will write it down for you later on. And I will let you borrow this bell to practice today. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May those of you who listen to me awaken from your forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. And after having breathed in and out 2 times like that, you are calm. You are qualified as a bell master. And then the next thing is for you to wake up the bell by making a half sound, not a full sound, just a half sound like this. You see? Like this. Half sound. And that is to warn people around you that a full sound is going to happen very soon. And so that people have the time to prepare themselves for the reception of the sound. They have to stop talking first, and stop thinking, relax their body, and wait for the full sound to come. Because the sound of bell is considered to be the voice of the Buddha from within, calling you home. You have to be very respectful. So after you make a wake-up sound, warning sound, you allow people enough time to prepare themselves. Stop thinking and stop talking. I think about 8 seconds may be enough. 3 seconds for breathing in and 3 seconds for breathing out in order to stop talking, stop thinking, and relax the body. I think 8 seconds is the minimum. If you are generous, you give them 10 seconds. And after that full sound, everyone, including you, the bell master, has a chance to practice 3 times deep breathing in and out. And you breathe with a short gata, a short verse. I listen, I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. I listen, I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home 3 times. And you have to measure the time. If you are a young person, and then your in-breath and out-breath will be shorter than the in-breath and out-breath of the adult. So after you have finished your 3 in-breath and out-breath, you give them some extra times so that they can enjoy fully their 3 in-breath and out-breath. I listen, I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. You are very kind to allow people enough time to enjoy their full 3 in-breath and out-breath. Because there is peace, there is a joy, tranquility, and that's very nice to produce that energy of peace and happiness where you are. And when you have finished your 3 in-breath and out-breath, you allow them a few extra seconds. I suggest that you breathe in and out once more. So 4 of your in-breath and out-breath will be equal to their 3 in-breath and out-breath. Let us be generous because you are offering peace. And then after that, you produce the second full sound. And everyone has a chance to enjoy, again, 3 times of in-breath and out-breath. And then after that, the third full sound. And after you have finished, you lower your bell and you put it on its cushion. The bell is in a sitting position. Meditation. The children have seen Thầy inviting the small bell in the morning during walking meditation. He does like this. Remember, the petal should not embrace like that, because if it is so and then the sound cannot go out, the petal has to bloom like this. For this big bell, you cannot put into your hand. It's so heavy. So you allow it to be sitting on its cushion, and you hold. This is not a stick. This is the inviter of the bell, and you do like this, and you breathe. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May all of you who listen to us awaken from your forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is the opposite of mindfulness. And transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. You are qualified of a bell master. And you offer the half sound. So people can have the chance to prepare themselves. And after 8 seconds, you produce the first full sound. And the sound should be gentle, peaceful, beautiful, and powerful. And it takes time to learn. And I suggest that you don't go directly in straight like that. You go in a parabol way. You do like you are helping the sound to soar up, like this. So the sound is like a bird soaring up. Now I like to sum up on the whiteboard. Remember? Look here. Holding the bell, you practice breathing in and out 2 times. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May all of you who listen to me awaken from your forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. And then you offer the half sound, warning people that a full sound is going to happen very soon so that they can prepare themselves. And you give them about 8 seconds or 10. So you have the chance to breathe in and out once more before you invite the bell to offer a full sound. And after the full sound, everyone has a chance to breathe in and out 3 more times. I listen, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. I listen, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. You breathe in such a way that peace, happiness is possible. You enjoy breathing in and out. And then, if you are a young person, after you have finished your 3 in-breath and out-breath, you make another one because the adults are still enjoying their 3 in-breath and out-breath. After the second full sound, everyone enjoy 3 more in-breath and out-breath. Listen, I listen, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. And then the last full sound, and everyone has a chance to breathe in and out 3 more times. And after that, you finish. You have done your job as a bell master. You lower your bell and you bow to your bell. And I would like to suggest this. Try to invite a bell home, a small bell. In the morning, before starting to school and to work, it's very nice that the whole family sit down and enjoy breathing with 3 sounds of the bell. I'd like you to do that because we can begin our day with peace and unity. And in the evening before going to sleep, the whole family sit down and enjoy 3 sounds of the bell, breathing in and out to feel peaceful. And you may arrange a small room in your house that is a mini meditation hall in your home. You only need a place for a few cushions and the place for the bell. And you can also have 1 pot of flower with only 1 flower is enough. And that is the mini meditation hall in your house. And every time the atmosphere in the family is not peaceful enough, someone is irritated, someone is crying, and any of you in the family, whether you are young or adult, you have the right to go to the bell and invite the bell to sound. Because the family has to sign a treaty, a peace treaty, that every time the bell is heard, everyone has to stop talking, thinking, and enjoy in-breath and out-breath 3 times. The family had to sit down and agree with each other that every time there is the sound of the bell in the house, everyone, including children, stop talking, stop thinking, and enjoy breathing in and out 3 times. You know that when I was in India, visiting the president of the National Assembly, Mr. Narayan, I proposed to him to do that in the National Assembly of India. I said that when the atmosphere is too hot, people don't listen to each other anymore. People try to talk at the same time, and then the president or someone else has the right to invite the bell. And everyone has to stop breathing in and out until the atmosphere of the assembly get calm and quiet again. And he was very excited. He wanted to do so. And after I met him, I went to a retreat. And during the retreat, someone brought me a newspaper announcing that the president of the parliament has appointed someone to form a committee of ethics in order to take care of that spiritual aspect of the life of the National Assembly. So he was trying to do what I suggested. Every session of the Congress should begin by a short meditation. Dear colleagues, someone will read, our people have elected us into this house. We have to listen to each other. We have to use loving speech so that together we can make the kind of law that can serve the country the best. And that is one thing. The second thing is that when the atmosphere is not calm enough, and then the bell of mindfulness should be rung. If you are a congressman, propose that to about 1 or 2 months after he was elected to be the president of India, so he did not have the chance to realize that project. And when you are not peaceful. And you want to cry when you are irritated. You go to that small room in your house. You close the door gently. You sit down on your cushion. You invite the bell to sound, and you breathe 3 times with each sound. And when you invite the bell to sound and breathe like that, everyone in the house will do the same. Mommy in the kitchen, she is cutting carrots. She hears the sound. She knows that her child is practicing. So she stops cutting carrot and she enjoys breathing in and out. And father is in his desk writing something. He hears the sound. He said he remembered that his child is practicing peace. So he stopped and he enjoys practicing. That is the most beautiful landscape you can see. And you can bring that atmosphere, that beauty into your house just by inviting a small bell home and practice. There will be peace, there will be harmony, there will be beauty in your home. And I think every home in the 21st century should have such a mini meditation hall in the house and a bell. That is civilization. Now the children, when you hear the small bell, you stand up and you face the Sangha and you salute the Sangha before going out. Remember, 3 o'clock this afternoon, we have to ring the bell for Martin Luther King, for Obama, for the people of America and the world, to remember that we have to be together. We have to wake up. We have to produce the energy of brotherhood and sisterhood. Join your palms. Bow. Have a good day.
This way, Damien. Thank you, Cooper.
Thank you.
When I was a young monk, I also had a dream, a wish, much smaller than the dream of Martin Luther King, but very, dear to me. I wanted to build a Sangha. And where there is brotherhood, sisterhood, living together. Because I had the intuition that you cannot do anything, you cannot realize anything without a Sangha. And we know that the Buddha himself, Shakyamuni, after enlightenment, the first thing he tried to do is to go and build a Sangha. Without a Sangha, a Buddha cannot do much. Even a Buddha cannot do much. So my dream is to build a Sangha, a real Sangha, a true Sangha, where is harmony and happiness. And my conviction is that if the Sangha has unity, harmony and happiness, it can do everything it wants. It did not precise something like national independence, equality, freedom, jobs. It did not have precise ideas like that. But there is a deep conviction, if there is a Sangha, there is a community where harmony, brotherhood, sisterhood, and happiness is, and then we can do a lot of things. 50 years ago, Martin Luther King gave that famous speech in Washington, D.C., I have a dream. And today, exactly 50 years after, I went through many wars. The first war is between the Vietnamese and the French, and the second is between the Vietnamese and Americans. And I saw a lot of destruction. And the fact that I am still sitting here today is a miracle, because many of us have died during the war, including monks and nuns. And many of us try to serve in the non-violent movement, trying to help refugees, setting up refugee camps and helping people to survive during the war, caring for the victims of war, and helping people who are so poor. We had the School of Youth for Social Service, where young monks, nuns, and lay people learn and try to help in a situation of war. And many of us got killed. Many students of mine, monks, nuns, and lay people get killed during their service. They threw a grenade into my room, and I was not killed. The curtain pushed it back on the next door. My dream is to build a Sangha. And when the country was divided into North and South, the North was communist, the South is anti-communist. That's when the United States of America become involved in Vietnam. So there is a lot of confusion in the mind of young people, including the monks and the nuns. They don't know where to go, because there are two kinds of ideologies opposing each other: capitalism, communism. And where do we have to stand? So in that state of confusion, the administration of the Buddhist Institute asked me to come and help. And I had the first occasion to organize a Sangha according to my vision. And I continue to reflect on the art of building a Sangha. During the war, workers of the School of Youth for Social Service have to engage themselves in very dangerous situations. And we try to set up a center of practice so that after a few months of work, they have a chance to withdraw and rebuild themselves, recover their peace, heal themselves in order to be sent again to serve. And we know that the practice center is very important for our social workers. And many of us have died. Many of us had been deeply wounded by the war. In June the 1st, 1965, I wrote to Martin Luther King a letter. That was when I was working in the School of Youth for Social Service. I had built the first Buddhist university in Vietnam, Vạn Hanh University. Vạn Hanh is the name of a Zen teacher. In the 11th century. I wrote to King about the self-immolation of the monks in Vietnam, because both warring parties wanted to fight to the end, and we are caught in the middle. We don't want the war. What we wanted is the cessation of hostilities. And we do not have a voice. We did not have magazine, radio, television. So our voice is lost in the bombs and in the anger, in the fear. And that is why sometimes we have to burn ourselves alive in order to get the message across. Thích Quảng Đức burned himself to say that we want peace. We want the stopping of the killing. And only when we burn ourselves like that, the New York Times, the Associated Press, writers will write about that. And that is why from time to time we have to burn ourselves as a means for communication. We did not have newspaper. We did not have radio. So I wrote to King explaining the meaning of the self-immolation. That is not an act of violence. That is an act of sacrifice in order to help with the awakening of the world about the suffering of the people in Vietnam. And I told him that our struggle for peace in Vietnam has the same nature with the struggle in America for human rights, for civil rights. And exactly one year after I wrote the letter in June 1st, 1965, and June 1st, 1966, I met King in Chicago. Cornell University invited me to come and give a series of talks about the situation in Southeast Asia. And I had a chance to tour in America to talk about the suffering of Vietnamese people. We do not want the war. We want peace. The police officer, when giving me the passport, he said, "Don't say anything about peace." And my only purpose of going to America is to talk about peace. So I just kept silent. And we conversed with each other in Chicago, and he came out after that against the war in Vietnam. The last time we met is in Geneva, in a conference for peace, for past cemeteries, peace on earth. He stayed on the 11th floor of the building, and I was in the first floor. He invited me to come the next day for breakfast. And that morning I was caught by a few journalists, so I came late, and he kept the breakfast warm for me. That is our last meeting before he got killed. And I was able to tell him that the people in Vietnam admire him and call him a bodhisattva, a great being. He was pleased to hear that. And we discussed about Sangha building. Because we know that without the Sangha we cannot go very far. And the expression that he used is the beloved community. The beloved community. I was in New York when King was assassinated. I was angry. And I got sick after that. And I told myself that King is gone. I have to continue. So I vowed that I will continue the work of Sangha building. Because without the Sangha, we cannot do much. We follow the example of the Buddha. And I could not go home because I had spoken out for peace, and they did not allow me to go home anymore. And I had to be in exile for 40 years. 40 years in exile. I was evicted out of my Sangha. And it's like a cell in the body taken out of the body. If I did not practice well, and then I will dry up like a bee without a beehive. So since Vietnam is at war with America, I cannot take refuge in America. So I asked for asylum, political asylum in France. So I started to be with Sangha. We started an office working for peace, and we began the practice of sitting, walking, meditation, and so on. Our office is in the Rue de la Goutte d'Or in Paris. And in the beginning, we didn't have a place to practice sitting meditation. We had to ask the Quaker Center in Paris to allow us to use it, to make use of it for sitting meditation. I was prevented to go back to Vietnam. There was one time when I was in America, touring the country and speaking about peace. Someone from the Baltimore Sun came to me and said, "Do you know something, Thầy? The government of Vietnam just informed France, the United States of America, and Great Britain that my passport is no longer valid. They should not honor that passport anymore. They invalidate my passport." so that I cannot go around and speak about peace anymore. And that journalist asked me whether I like to go on hiding myself. Sister Chân was in Costa Rica doing the same thing, speaking about peace. I asked her to come and prepare so that when I land in Paris, people they won't deport me to Vietnam in order to go in jail. So I arranged so that I could take political asylum in France. And during the 40 years outside in exile, I tried my best to build a Sangha. And now there is a monastic Sangha of about 800 or 900. And a lay Sangha, we don't know how many. You are part of my Sangha. There are more than 1,000 communities of mindful living across the continents. And we have trained monastic Dharma teachers. We have trained lay Dharma teachers. And we have practice centers many places. And the Sangha, the work of Sangha building has not stopped since that time. Now the practice of mindfulness began to penetrate into the mainstream. We have trained many school teachers so that they can bring that practice into school and help the students to suffer less. Doctors, nurses, social workers, psychotherapists, many of them have been using the practice in order to improve their practice. And we have elaborated the practice of global ethics so that everyone, regardless of religion, nationality, can make use of it. How to release the tension in the body, how to produce a feeling of joy, of happiness, how to handle a painful feeling, a painful emotion, how to restore communication and reconcile. All these kind of things can be done without asking someone to become a Buddhist or so. So this is what the Sangha has done in the last many years. Of course, the dream of Martin Luther King includes freedom, social justice, civil rights, jobs. But we know that we need more than that. We need peace inside of us and around us. We need peace in ourselves, in our family, in our community, in our nation. And the practice of mindfulness should be able to help us cultivate more peace in our daily life. Today we will ring the bell according to the wish of President Obama, but our way of ringing the bell is a little bit different. Because with the bell, we have to go home to ourselves and take good care of ourselves and restore peace inside. We know how to handle a painful feeling, a painful emotions. Because the bell, according to our tradition, help us to go home, to go back to our true home, and to restore peace, and to communicate with ourselves. Before we can communicate well with people in our family, before we can communicate well with our planet, because the direction of our civilization is in the opposite way. We get away from ourselves, we get away from our family, we get away from nature. And that is why the bell should be able to bring us back to ourselves, to our beloved ones, and to our dear planet Earth. And that is really the dream. And we cannot realize that unless we have a Sangha. The other day we spoke about 4 kinds of nutriments, and some of us want to know what they are. There is a sutra called Sun's Flesh. Teaching about the 4 kinds of nutriments, because that is the content of the 5th mindfulness training, mindful consumption. If we want to be healthy, if we want to heal the world, we have to practice the 5th mindfulness training, mindful consumption. The Buddha told the monks the story of a young couple of refugees. The couple wanted to flee the country, and they brought with them their little boy. And halfway crossing the desert, they run out of food, and they knew that they are going to die. 3 of them. And after much reflection, they make a terrible decision to kill the boy and eat the flesh so that they can survive in order to get to the other country seeking for asylum. This must have been a true story told by the Buddha by that couple. After having eaten 1 piece of that flesh, they beat their chest, they pull their hair, and they ask, "Where is now our beloved little boy?" And they kept the rest of the body of the child on the shoulder to dry in the sun. And finally they got out of the desert and got accepted as refugees. So after having told the monks that story, the Buddha asked them, "My dear friends, do you think that the couple enjoy eating their son's flesh?" And the monk said, "No, dear teacher, it's impossible to enjoy eating the flesh of your own child." The Buddha said, "In that case, we should learn to eat in such a way that we will not eat the flesh of our own children. We should eat in such a way that can preserve compassion in our heart." And that is a subject of meditation for all of us in this society of consumption. We know that tens of thousands of children die every day for the lack of food and of nutrition. And we have been using grains in order to make alcohol and make meat. We have been cutting forests. We have been polluting the air, the water, in order to make meat. The meat industry has destroyed much of our planet. So that liquor, if you drink mindfully, it is the blood of your child. If they use that huge amount of grain to feed the children, to feed the world, children will not die by tens of thousands every day. We learned that the eating of meat is more polluting than the driving of a car. And we have been told by scientists that to reduce the eating of meat and the drinking of alcohol by 50% can already change the world. In Vietnam, there are many Buddhists who observe 10 days of eating vegetarian only. And I have written a letter asking them to make it into 15 days to meet with that request. And it's easy enough. And if you know how to cook vegetarian food, go. You know that is very good also, healthy. You get healthier if you eat less meat. This is the truth. So eating in such a way, drinking in such a way that can still preserve compassion in your heart, that is the advice of the Buddha. Without compassion, we cannot relate to another living being. Without compassion, we are completely cut off. That is why eating in such a way that we will not eat the sons and the daughters of our own. And that is the first kind of nutriment called edible food. The second source of nutriment is sensory impression. Xúc thực. You consume with your eye, like television, like movies, like magazines, like books. You consume with your ears, your nose, your body, and your mind. And many of the items you consume are highly toxic. It's a lot of fear, anger, craving, despair. And if you consume like that, you intoxicate yourself. You destroy your body and your mind. happiness is not possible anymore. I remember that day I was invited as the guest editor of the Times of India in New Delhi. And at the meeting this morning, we learned that there was bombing by terrorists, and many people died. And other editors asked me, "Dear Thầy, what should we do, journalists, in a morning like this, when we receive bad news like that?" And I remember I did not give an answer right away. I had to practice mindful breathing. And finally I said that, "Dear friends, we have to report. Our duty is to report to the people what has happened. But we have to report in such a way that promote understanding and compassion. We tell the truth in such a way that will not water the seed of anger and fear in people." There are many ways of reporting on the same kind of event. And the journalist, if she has or he has the element of understanding as how people like to do such a thing, looking deeply. And if the journalist has compassion, because if she has understanding, she will have compassion even with the terrorist. There's a lot of anger, despair, violence in him. And nobody has helped him. The terrorist did not have peace and understanding and love. So if the journalist has enough understanding and compassion, he will be able to report the event in such a way that water the seed of understanding and compassion in the readers. Otherwise, he will water the seed of anger and fear and despair, and that will be very, very destructive. So the article that we read in the magazine can be toxic, can be full of poisons if the journalist doesn't know how to report. Because the journalist might be overwhelmed by anger and fear, and he or she may report in that state of mind. And if every day we consume fear, anger, craving, despair like that, we cannot continue. And that is why the second source of nutriment, sensory impression, is very important. When you drive through the city, you consume advertisements and so on. Even when you have a conversation, you consume. The conversation, what the other person say may be full of anger and hate. And if you listen for 1 hour, you get that toxin in you, if you don't know how to protect yourself with mindfulness. And if you are a psychotherapist, you have to listen to many stories of sadness, of suffering. And if you don't know how to protect you with the energy of mindfulness, you'll be sick also after a number of years and cannot continue. That is why the second source of nutriment is very important. If we have got a depression because we have consumed in such a way that make the depression become a reality. And the Buddha gave the image of a cow with skin disease. The cow does not have any means to protect herself. So when she lay down and then small insects will come from the soil, will come and suck the blood. The cow, if the cow goes close to ancient world or an ancient tree, tiny creatures in the tree, in the bark of the tree, will come and suck the blood. So if we do not have mindfulness, and then these things will penetrate into us, our body and to our mind, and we get the toxins, we get the poisons. Just drive into the city, you consume from what you see and what you hear. And that is why we have to set up a strategy of consumption so that we can protect ourselves, our family, and so on. When our children watch television, they consume. When they play electronic games, they consume. And they may get a lot of violence, fear, anger by doing so. So we have to sit down as a family and discuss about a strategy of consumption to protect ourselves. And if you are in the city council, if you are in the Congress, you may like to reflect on that. Because the happiness of a people, of a country, depends very much on the way the people consume. And in the name of freedom, they have created many items of consumption full of toxins. And if you make the kind of law prohibiting that kind of products, that will help children and adults alike. The third source of nutriment is volition. Volition, tư niệm thực, is the kind of wish, is kind of deepest wish, deepest desire that you have. It's like your deepest wish, your deepest desire may be building a sangha, and that is a good volition, good food. Every one of us has a deep wish. We want to do something with our life. What is the purpose of our life? We want to do something. Maybe our father, our grandfather, our grandmother had a dream. They wanted to do something. They cannot do it, and then we can do it for them. What do I want to do with my life? Running after fame, power, money and sex? Is that my deepest wish? I have to ask myself. Many people running after these objects of desire, of craving, destroy their body and their mind. And even when they have plenty of these things, they are not truly happy. They are very famous people, wealthy people, but they suffer very deeply. So is that my true volition, my true desire? We have to find out what is our deepest desire. The deepest desire of a terrorist is to punish. And to punish maybe in the name of God. For those people they believe to be evil. So that kind of volition, that kind of desire comes from a kind of perception. Your wrong perceptions may bring you, may bring about hate, anger, and despair. And these elements are very needed for a terrorist to succeed. If that is helped by another person to look deeply, to see that on the other side, they suffer exactly on our side. They need help and not punishment. If we understand our own suffering, and then we can understand the suffering of the other person much more easily. And understanding suffering, compassion arises, and no anger, no fear is possible anymore. And you cannot be a terrorist anymore. So if a terrorist keeps being a terrorist because no one has helped him or her to understand herself and the other person, the one she wants to punish. You cannot remove terrorism with guns and bombs. You can only remove it with understanding and compassion. So if you have the desire to protect children from abuse, sexual abuse, to protect children from dying, hunger, and that is a good volition. And that among many other veterans. And we offer him a session so that he can tell us about his. And it took him a lot of efforts and many days in order to tell us what had been bothering him for many years after going back to America. In Vietnam, his image had been destroyed by the guerrillas. So he was very angry. And he wanted to do retaliation. So he came back to that village with a bag of sandwich. And there is explosive inside the sandwich. He wanted to punish the people in the village because the killing of his friends took place in that place. And he hid himself. And he saw 5 children came out and discovered the sandwich. They enjoyed eating the sandwich. And after that, they began to cry and to show the symptoms of sickness. And their mother came out and tried to help, but they did not know how to help. The next city where there is a hospital is 1 day of driving away. And he knows that there is no way to save these 5 children. They are going to die. And with that kind of image, he went back to America and suffered many years. And he could not tell the story to anyone except his mother. And his mother tried to help my son. Things like that happen in war. But that did not help him. Every time he found himself sitting in a room with a few children, he could not stand up. He had to run out right away. And he had psychotherapists help him. but he could not have it. So he came to our retreat, and that day he was able to tell the truth. So I took him for a walk, and I said that yes, you have killed 5 children. And you suffer for that. But you can do something in order to wipe out that kind of mistakes. There are many children who are dying every day now, even in America. And you are still young, you are intelligent, you can do something in order to have 5 children not to die today. There are children who need only 1 tablet of medicine in order to be saved. And you can be the one bringing to that child a tablet of medicine in order for that child to survive. Why don't you do that with your time, your energy, and stay there and suffer? Do something. Correct the past with the present moment. And he found a way out. And he tried to practice according to that. And he healed himself. He married a dentist in England and set up a household and live normally like other people. So, volition is the kind of food. If you have the desire to help, the desire to heal, the desire to protect, and then you have that amount of energy that helps you to be alive, and that energy will heal you. There is a Bodhisattva called Kshitigarbha. He has a great aspiration. He wants to go to the darkest spots of the world in order to help. And because of that vow, great vow, he is full of energy. So if you have a volition, if you have a deep wish to serve, then you will be full of energy. And that energy will begin to heal you. Even if you are someone that has been violated, abused when you were a child. If you want to make the vow to help protect children from abuse, and then you get that kind of energy called aspiration, wish, volition, and you'll be very active, and that energy in you, that is that energy in you that will heal you. That is the third kind of nutriment. So every one of us has to sit down and find out what is our deepest desire, what we want to do with our life. The Buddha also had a deep desire to free himself and help other people to suffer less. That is a good nutriment. And then the fourth element of food, the fourth is consciousness. Consciousness as food. Thật. There are materials in our own consciousness. And we tend to go back to ourselves and consume that materials that are not healthy. Suppose you have suffered as a young person, you have been abused, you have been humiliated by someone. Someone has left you on the face. You suffer silently. And every time you think of it, you suffer. And there is a dark place in our consciousness where the films of the past continue to be projected. And then those of us who want to always go back to the past and watch the film and suffer, they have become a prisoner of the past. They do not have the capacity of living in the present moment, where there is light, bird songs, blue sky, and all the wonders of life, because they are caught in the prison of the past. You are a good practitioner. You can help him or her getting out and be in the present moment full of light and joy. You tell him or her that that's not the kind of good food for you. Always ruminating that kind of food. There are animals like cows, buffaloes. They have many stomachs. And after having chewed the grass, they swallow. And then bring it out again and they chew again, ruminating. There are so many of us who keep ruminating the dark things, the unhealthy things without our consciousness. We don't know how to transform them, and we continue to ingest them. And that source of food comes from our own consciousness. So as a good practitioner, we should learn how to transform that dark spot, making the mud into the lotus. And we should not try to go back to that corner, dark corner, where the films of suffering of the past is always projected. And you can help a person in that situation by inviting him or her to get out and learn how to be in the present moment. And consciousness is also collective consciousness. If you happen to move to a neighborhood where people are very angry, violent, fearful, you are going to consume a lot of toxins. We know that when anger and fear and despair become a collective energy, it's very dangerous. And there are neighborhoods that are full of anger and fear and despair. And if you wake up and realize that you are in such a neighborhood, you have to pull out as quickly as you could. You have to protect yourself. You have to heal yourself first before you can go back and help them. And the best way, and maybe the only way to help them, is to come back with the Sangha. So a collective energy of mindfulness and of peace, of compassion can heal people. But the collective energy of hate and anger is very destructive. And therefore, that kind of food, collective consciousness, we have to be aware, we have to consume. When we come to a retreat like this, and as we hear the bell, we practice mindful breathing, mindful smiling, allowing mindfulness, concentration, and compassion to arise. We generate that collective energy of compassion and peace, which are good for us to consume, good for the children to consume. But when we happen to be in a group full of anger and fear, that collective energy is very toxic. And that is the fourth kind of nutrients that we have to reflect on. If you want to change the world, if you want to change your city, your family, your country, you have to reflect on the four kind of nutriments. I think politicians should know about this, if they really want to serve their own country. Tomorrow we have a session of questions and answers. Dear Sangha, I suggest that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Dhamma teacher will invite the bell to sound 3 rounds. And every one of us, wherever we find ourselves in, practice listening the way we have learned this morning, responding to Martin Luther King, responding to the President Obama. We want to go deep. And the ringing of the bell should bring peace in the here and the now. Should bring and brotherhood during the time we listen to the bell. That is the best way to ring the bell and to listen to the bell.